I watched the Jonas Brothers Christmas movie, Bing Bing Bong, or whatever it was Joe Jonas said on live TV.
From 2026 New Year's Eve show at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. Bing Bing Bong. Yes, this is going to be a super special night, a celebration of...
The Jonas Brothers are so back, and they made a Christmas movie for some reason. Now, the Jonas Brothers are no strangers to producing Christmas stuff. I do believe that the very first ever song Nick Jonas put out when he was just a mere child was titled Joy to the World, A Christmas Prayer. So we have gotten a lot of Christmas songs from the boys over the years, but never a Christmas movie, which a lot of people have been asking the question, why? Why put out a Christmas movie? This also coming off of the recent news that the Jonas Brothers filmed Camp Rock 3, which also begs the question, why? Does the world really need a Camp Rock 3? No offense, but as much as I enjoyed the Camp Rock movies as a child, I'm starting to really feel fatigued of every single nostalgic TV show or movie being remade or sequeled. These remakes and sequels get everyone excited based off of the passion that people had for the original work at the time, but time and time again, audiences have been walking away disappointed because most of them cannot compete with the original work. And you can't make a movie or a TV show based off of nostalgia alone. So will the Camp Rock 3 be good? I don't know. Should we watch it? I don't know. Will I probably watch it because I am nothing if not curious? Absolutely. And maybe I'm a fool for falling into the trap time and time again. So, with the recent news of the filming of Camp Rock 3 and also the premiere of A Very Jonas Christmas, a lot of people have been wondering why. Who do the Jonas Brothers owe money to? Why are they doing this? Are they still trying to pay off Nick's 5 weddings? Or are the brothers just passionate and want to make some silly stuff? Some people have also said that this movie might just be a way for the Jonas Brothers to promote a Christmas album and also to promote their current tour. But I don't think the Jonas Brothers need more promotion for their tour. I've seen the prices. I know the demand, okay? Today we are going to be investigating this as I watched A Very Jonas Christmas. When I first saw the trailer for A Very Jonas Christmas movie, I was so excited because anyone who knows me knows I love a so bad it's good movie. I thought this movie was going to be a really fun watch because it was going to be absolutely stupid and ridiculous. I mean, the tagline for this movie is let it bro, let it bro, let it bro. So I came into this fully expecting to be a little bit of a hater, a little bit of a let me laugh at this movie type of thing. But after watching the movie, I think that the Jonas Brothers also realize how ridiculous and unserious this movie is. And I've started to look at this movie in a new light, which is it's camp. It's camp. And the Jonas Brothers are no strangers to camp. So, yes, is it a little bit dumb? Is it a little bit cheesy? Sure. But I think there are some genuinely funny moments that are very unserious. And if you're a fan of camp, I think you might actually enjoy this movie. Before we get started, I need to put out a disclaimer because I don't want the Jonas Brothers fans coming at me thinking that I'm hating on them because I am one of you. I am indeed too a Jonas Brothers fan. I myself have attended a Jonas Brothers concert. I might have attended multiple Jonas Brothers concerts if I had the funds to do that. Jonas Brothers, if you're listening, Joe, I know you're chronically online. Do something about your ticket prices, please. But I digress a little bit. I just want to reiterate that I am one of you. The album's a little bit longer and Jonas Brothers went triple platinum on my iPod Nano in 7th grade, okay? The Jonas Brothers won Album of the Year and Artist of the Year 4 years in a row at the Maria Gillan Music Awards. Some might say the most prestigious music awards there are. So don't come for me, please. This is all in good fun. But with that being said, let's get it started. We open the movie in London. It's the last night of the Jonas Brothers tour, and Will Ferrell is playing himself As a Jonas Brothers super fan, it's kind of giving his impression of that 2013 skit where Paul Rudd was a #1 directioner. So I do have to say, Paul Rudd kind of did it first. At the concert, we see that the Jonas Brothers tour name is the Unbreakable Bond Tour, which I find absolutely hilarious considering that the Jonas Brothers had famously had a tragic breakup, or more so infamously had a breakup. So the Unbreakable Bond Tour is kind of funny. At this concert, we see a clip of the Jonas Brothers performing their famed Christmas bop, Like It's Christmas. Now, is the song catchy? Yes. So the Jonas Brothers do know how to write fun music. After the concert, there's a scene of Nick talking about the changes he made to the set of the show and how he is very proud of those changes, to a Kevin and a Joe that are completely oblivious to any changes that were being made. We see Joe scrolling on his phone, laughing at videos. I think the line he says in the movie while he is scrolling through his phone is actually, "I love memes."
I love memes.
Which is completely ridiculous, and no one talks like that, but it's camp, I guess. This scene is also kind of funny to me, as it is what a lot of people assume the brothers' dynamic to actually be like, as a lot of people assume that Nick is the more serious one, more focused on the music, you know, and Joe and Kevin are more of the silly fun ones, especially Joe, and it is common knowledge that Joe Jonas is a chronically online guy. I mean, if there is a TikTok that even slightly mentions the Jonas Brothers that begins to pop off a little bit, you will find Joe Jonas in the comments, okay? I think the movie does a fun job of playing off the public perceptions of what people perceive the Jonas Brothers to act like in real life based off of their personas that we get online. I mean, in this scene, Nick is clearly annoyed with Joe, and in real life, we do see Nick get frustrated with his brothers. As one, he was famously the catalyst for the boys' original breakup, but even more recently, in the famous Bing Bing Bong video where Joe says Bing Bing Bong on live TV, a lot of people found what was even funnier than Joe saying this on live TV was Nick's reaction in that moment, in which Nick looks so absolutely done with him. While on the phone with his family, we hear Kevin say Nick's in one of his moods again.
Nick's in one of his moods again. What? Nothing.
Which I think fans would find funny, because a lot of times online when Kevin and Joe are acting up, you might find in the comments people saying Nick's gonna break up the band over this, or Nick's gonna break up the band again, guys. So we can see how the movie is playing more into these perceptions and personas of what the public perceives the boys to be like. Then we meet the character Brad, played by the hilarious Randall Park. Brad is renewing his vows, and he wants to make sure the boys get home okay for the holidays, so he gives them a card with connections to a fancy travel agency just in case anything goes wrong, to which Joe dramatically rips up, saying they don't need a fancy travel agency and they'll be just fine. Now, I'm sure this is definitely not going to cause any problems for them in the future. Moving on, we see Joe trying to convince Kevin and Nick to go out and celebrate with him as their last day together before they part ways and spend the holidays with their separate families. In this scene, Joe looks directly into the camera and then starts singing as we cut to our very first of a few music video style interludes in the movie. This song is one of their most ridiculous and campy songs in the whole movie, as Joe is narrating what their night would look like if they went out together. He also makes a lot of references to famous British people. They make a reference to Elton John, to which the movie pokes fun at itself by having a character say this.
Couldn't get Elton?
Joe proceeds to dress up as some other famous Brits, including Daniel Radcliffe and the Beckhams. It is a very over-the-top, very stupid kind of fantasy music video sequence. And that's what I mean when I say that this movie is I believe, self-aware of its ridiculousness, and the movie is made to be cheesy and unserious. When the music video sequence is over, Nick is talking on the phone with his real-life wife and daughter, Priyanka and Malti. I do like the inclusion of the real-life families being in the movie. I think it gives it this kind of cuteness to the whole thing. But in this conversation, we get some more setup for what more of the conflicts of the movie are going to be, as Nick is venting to his wife about how he is having a hard time being the one who has to overly obsess over everything while his brothers can live more carefree lives. Then Kevin is seen talking to his real life wife and his two daughters, setting up his conflict for the movie. His wife Danielle asks him if he's talked to his brothers yet, and we don't know what this is about quite yet at this point in the movie, but we do know there is something that Kevin has been meaning to bring up with his brothers. Next, Joe is talking to Santa at a bar, but he doesn't realize it is Santa quite yet. Santa is being played by Jesse Tyler Ferguson of Mitchell Pritchett fame, and if I refer to him as Mitchell Pritchett throughout the rest of this video, it is only because I am currently watching Modern Family for the first time, and it is so hard to unsee that that is in fact Mitchell Pritchett. So Joe vents to Santa that he feels like his relationship with his brothers has lost a little bit of its magic. When Joe walks away, we see Mitchell Pritchett Santa singing and releasing magical beams out into the air, which then turn into a magical lightning bolt that strikes the Jonas Brothers' private jet and sets it on fire. In hilariously badly done CGI, mind you. Santa also says that the boys will never make it back across the pond unless they strengthen their bond. Then we get the movie's first title card letting us know 48 hours until Christmas. The Jonas Brothers find out about their private plane, and I just want to say, maybe that's what you get for having a private plane. Maybe Santa was doing you a favor. Maybe he was doing us all a favor, as maybe celebrities and rich people should stop flying on private jets. I feel like I might be getting off topic a little bit here, but rich people and celebrities, stop flying on private jets. It's terrible for the environment. Anyway, after finding out about their plane, the boys try to call Brad, but they only get his voicemail since he is getting his vows renewed. But in the voicemail message, Brad informs them that he actually did leave the business card for the travel agency in each of the boys' wallets, because that is a man that is always thinking 2 steps ahead. The brothers call the travel agency, and we are introduced to the travel agent Cassidy, played by Billy Lord. Cassidy is able to get the boys on a flight out of Paris, but they only have 30 minutes to make the train to Paris. A mysteriously fast rideshare is already waiting to pick the brothers up to take them to the train station. It is in this scene there is a genuinely funny joke that actually made me laugh, which is a Waze joke in which the rideshare driver lady pronounces it waze. The driver Deb starts driving like an absolute maniac, but she does end up getting the boys to the train station on time, so they really have not much to complain about. At the train station, Joe says, "You think we have time for a song?" And then we cut to another music video montage of the boys singing and dilly-dallying through the train station. The song they sing is Coming Home for Christmas. There's a dance break in the song, and it's almost like they then said, now what would take our cheesy over-the-top Christmas song to the next level, but none other than Kenny G with his saxophone, which is exactly what happens in this music video. That is right, Kenny G pops out of nowhere with his saxophone, never to be seen again once the song is over, but it is in fact Kenny G. Once the music video is finished, we see that the Jonas Brothers made it on their train, and this is where we get introduced to another character, Lucy, who is played by Chloe Bennett. You might recognize her from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fame. Lucy is an old childhood friend of Joe's, and for some reason she is also on this train, but aside from that, they do catch up and they have a little bit of a moment letting us know that Lucy is probably going to be a love interest for Joe for the rest of this movie. Joe then goes back to Kevin and Nick and tells them about running into Lucy and saying that he felt there was a connection there. They then joke and make fun of him, saying that he always has a connection. This sets up Joe's conflict for the movie, which is that his brothers don't take him seriously, especially in regards to his dating life, because he has been known to have a lot of relationships. Moving on, Nick gets a call from their manager Stacy, who is played by the fabulous Laverne Cox. Stacy tells Nick that they want to extend the brothers' tour 6 more months. Then we get the first really weird hallucination, imagination sequence in the movie in which Nick imagines his brothers and what they would say, except for some reason, Nick imagines his brothers as really tiny. I don't know what was the reason for this and why they were tiny, but like I said, the movie is stupid and ridiculous at times. In his imagination, tiny Kevin and Joe reiterate that this is going to be another 6 months of work for Nick while they get to goof off and have fun. So Nick tells Stacy not to extend the tour, but he blames it on Kevin and Joe, saying that they feel really burnt out by the current tour. And he also tells her not to tell Kevin and Joe about the tour extension because he doesn't want them to feel bad. He says he knows that they would want to extend the tour for the sake of the fans. This is kind of so rude of Nick, because it's like, if you're a burnt out man, just tell Stacy that you're burnt out. But instead he blames it on Kevin and Joe. Then we hear an announcement on the train informing us that the train is reaching its final destination, Amsterdam. Cut to another title card, 39 hours until Christmas. That's right, the Jonas Brothers had gotten on the wrong train, so now they are in Amsterdam. Kevin and Joe blame Nick for this mistake and tell him that he is supposed to be the uptight, responsible one. Kevin then refers to Joe as a lovable tramp. Then the scene progresses into a hilarious but mean roast of Kevin Jonas as Nick and Joe just go back and forth with some of the worst insults, including calling Kevin human cardboard and forgettable curly.
Human cardboard. Forgettable Curly, the world's most unlikely rock star.
Not Nick or Joe.
The one that still lives in New Jersey.
Ah, good one, Tramp.
Since there are no current flights out of Amsterdam, the boys have to stay the night at a rundown motel. At the motel, Joe sees a video online of Nick's Broadway friend Ethan, who just so happens to be traveling on his private jet to Amsterdam to play a show. Now, Ethan is played by the Andrew Barth Feldman of Jimmy Award winner fame, and also making that music video about the closing down of Muppet Vision 3D fame.
I wanna say thank you, Muppet Vision 3D.
But all this to say, Ethan just happens to be playing a show hilariously titled Eggnog with an EGOT, because in this world, apparently, he has an EGOT. This is about to lead us to probably my most favorite sequence of scenes in the entire movie. Nick has beef with Ethan because they starred in Home Alone the musical on Broadway together, and Nick accidentally referred to Ethan as kid on their very first day. Nick reluctantly agrees to go to Ethan's show to try and see if Ethan will take them back to the States for the holidays. At his show, Ethan sees Nick and invites Nick up on stage to sing a song from Home Alone the musical with him. And this is the best scene in the entire movie. It is totally camp. I love this whole scene. It feels like an SNL skit. It is genuinely funny, and it is probably the most I laughed in the entirety of this movie. But Nick Jonas and Andrew Barth Feldman sing a song from the made-up Home Alone the musical. If you're not going to watch this movie, at least go watch this scene. But let me tell you some of the lyrics to this Home Alone song. It is indeed a masterpiece. Being home alone is like being home with no people. I was alone because there was no people at all. A house is not a home when you're home alone because homes need people. I'm sure if this was a real musical, it would be nominated for all the Tonys. It would probably sweep the Tonys. I'm sure this song is about to end up on my Spotify Wrapped absolute cinema, this entire scene. In this scene, singing with Ethan, Nick encourages the piano player to go higher and higher, knowing that Ethan won't be able to hit the notes. His goal is to embarrass Ethan because Ethan kind of embarrassed him, making a bunch of jokes about how old he is in front of everybody. Ethan, upset, accuses Nick of flying to Amsterdam just to embarrass him, and he proceeds to call Nick the worst Jonas brother before we get the next title card of the movie, letting us know there's 29 hours until Christmas. After this moment, we find Joe at a bar stalking Lucy on Instagram, and I just want to say, this bar looks eerily similar to the bar that Joe meets Santa at in the beginning of the movie. Some might say it was probably the exact same bar, and they did not do much to make it look like a different bar. But anyways, Lucy, who just happened to be on the train from Paris, also just happens to be at this one bar in Amsterdam, and her and Joe hit it off and they go to hang out. Joe doesn't tell Nick and Kevin about going to hang out with Lucy because he fears that they won't take him seriously about his feelings for Lucy. In this moment, he also has his imaginary hallucination moment of imagining what his brothers are going to say about him. In his imagination, his brothers basically call him a worthless party boy. Lucy wants to go swimming in a dirty and cold Amsterdam canal, and Joe agrees to go with her. He puts down his passport pack that he has been carrying throughout this movie. Why is he walking everywhere with this passport pack? I don't know, but the second he puts it down, we then see that the magical Santa beams touch the passport pack in some way, and we're supposed to know from this that the passports are now gone. Back at the motel, we finally find out what Kevin has been needing to talk to Nick and Joe about, and we get a scene of him imagining what his brothers are going to say within a bathroom mirror. It turns out that Kevin actually wants to sing lead in a song, and he's afraid to bring this up with Kevin and Joe. In this scene where he imagines Kevin and Joe, they repeat all of the terribly mean stuff that they said about him in that earlier scene. Then the movie pokes fun at how terribly mean that stuff was, as the imaginary Joe tells Kevin,
The stuff we say to you is so mean, you don't even have to embellish it in your memory.
title card, 25 hours until Christmas. Back over with Joe and Lucy, they are running away from the Amsterdam police after they got caught swimming in one of the canals. Afterwards, Joe finds out that Lucy just so happens to be going back to New York for the holidays, which coincidentally is exactly where he's going to be, but they part ways before they make any plans. As Joe leaves Lucy, we get yet another music video moment to this sad boy song Feel Something, as Joe sadly wanders the streets of Amsterdam, and surprisingly Chloe Bennett, who plays Lucy, also sings on this song. When Joe makes it back to the hotel, Nick excitedly informs them that he got them on a flight home in the morning, but this is where Joe realizes that the passports in the passport pack are missing. Title card, 23 hours until Christmas. The boys then call Cassidy back to ask her for help. In this conversation, she remembers that her ex-boyfriend is a pilot who ditched her to fly Angela Merkel to Germany, which is the reason why they broke up. However, if the boys can get to Germany, then her ex can probably fly them back home on the private jet. Now, I have a question here because I feel like I may have found a small plot hole in the movie, as if the boys' passports are missing, how are they still able to fly home? Because it's a private jet, passports don't matter. And I tried to look this up because I thought, if you're entering or leaving a country, surely you still have to have a passport. Surely you still have to go through some sort of customs. And from what I can tell, I'm right, as from my Google search, it seems like, in fact, you do need a passport. Why is the problem solved when Cassidy's ex can fly them privately when the problem was that their passports are missing? If anyone out there watching this happens to know about travel rules and laws, let me know in the comments, because this plot line makes no sense to me, but we will move on. In order to get to Germany, the Jonas Brothers decide to rent a car. However, as they're getting in, we see the famed bad CGI Santa beams of light going into the car exhaust engine, letting us know that Santa is going to cause the car to break down, which it immediately does in the very next scene. Title card, 14 hours until Christmas. On the side of the road, Nick tracks down a truck hauling Christmas trees, and we see that the driver is none other than Mitchell Pritchett's Santa. The boys get a ride with Mitchell Pritchett's Santa to Germany. Nick sits in the front seat with Santa and vents to him about being in a band with your brothers. Santa then tells Nick about his lonely life. This inspires Nick to go sit in the back of the truck with Kevin and Joe, which leads to a very sweet scene of the brothers reminiscing together about Christmases past. And we then get another music video type moment to the song Remember When. This moment in the movie is very sweet as it features real footage of the brothers in their childhood and growing up together. So overall, it was a nice little sprinkle of some sincerity in a movie that has been overall over the top and absurd. After the song, Nick tries to call Stacy, the manager, back to let her know that he wants to rethink canceling the tour extension and not to cancel the promotions just yet. The Jonas Brothers then make it to the airport in Germany, where we meet Cassidy's ex-boyfriend Gene, who is played by KJ Apa of Riverdale fame, Riverdale boy himself. While on the plane, they start to feel some turbulence, so Nick goes into cockpit to check on Gene, and he finds him taking thirst trap pictures to try and impress Cassidy, as he is upset that Cassidy posted a picture with some guy named Dean, and the picture is a comically bad photoshopped picture of Cassidy and a fake guy. I just want to say shout out to my girl Cassidy for being creative and doing a bad Photoshop job instead of using AI. I am an AI hater, and I like to think that the character Cassidy is too, as she chose to be creative instead of creating AI slop. So good for you, girl. I'm a Cassidy fan. The boys, worried that Gene won't continue flying the plane until he gets his picture, decide to help Gene take a thirst trap photo. In this scene, Joe also gives him a famous Glow by Joe candle to hold in the picture, which candle on a plane, I think we can all see where this is going. During this whole commotion of trying to take a picture of Gene, Kevin and Joe see a text on Nick's phone that he receives from Stacy about her being glad that he is wanting to rethink the tour extension. Kevin and Joe are rightfully upset that Nick didn't discuss any of this with them before making the decision to cancel and then making the decision to uncancel. In a fit of rage from not liking his pictures enough, Gene falls over and hits his head. As they're trying to wake Gene, the boys, of course, accidentally hit a button on the plane, which turns off the autopilot. Joe then decides to sit in the co-pilot's seat and says that he's got this because he's friends with Glenn Powell from Top Gun. However, unfortunately, being friends with Glenn Powell does not make one a pilot, so the plane starts to take a nosedive, and then the boys are able to wake Gene up just in time for him to try and steer the plane away from a deadly crash. We also see, in bad CGI fashion, the magical Santa beams help the plane land in a more safe way. So yes, they do make a bumpy, low-budget CGI landing thanks to the help of the magical Mitchell Pritchett Santa CGI beams. However, there's no time to celebrate their safe landing, as their bumpy crash down, of course, caused the lit Glow by Joe candle to fall over and start a fire in the plane, in which the boys and a shirtless KJ Apa escape just in time to watch the plane explode from a distance. Also, let the record show that all of them left their phones on board. Title card, 5 hours until Christmas. Nick says he's upset that they're missing Christmas with their families because Gene had to take thirst traps for, and I quote, the weirdest woman in the world. Gene stands up to Nick and defends Cassidy. Go Gene. And in his argument with Nick, Gene tries to insult Nick by saying he's always liked Joe's solo music better, to which I say, do we think Gene is a fast life truther? I bet he's an all this time stan. Gene leaves the boys to wander off on his own. We will see that Gene does make it back to Cassidy at the end of the movie, but how? We will never know. That is a mystery of this movie to everyone, I guess. But after he leaves, the boys start to finally air out their accumulated grievances with each other. Kevin finally yells that he wants to sing. Then new song alert as the boys have a sad boy walk through the wilderness. The song is titled Better Off Alone, and in it they do this funny bit in which Joe and Nick both sing, and when we get to a part that is meant for Kevin to sing, we see him just playing his guitar as the lyrics to the song are on the bottom of the screen, showing us that Kevin still wants to sing, but I guess he's not ready to use his voice just yet. The boys then get surrounded by a pack of bad CGI wolves, and it is in this moment where they think that they are going to be attacked by the CGI wolves that the boys decide to scream out their apologies to each other. As they finally all apologize and repair their relationships, we see that Mitchell Pritchett's Santa sends down his bad CGI magical beams once again to cause the wolves to disappear. Suddenly, we see Randall Park's Brad again find the boys on a dog sled for some reason. Brad informs the boys that he found them because their plane crash was all over the news. Title card, 0 hours until Christmas. That's right, we're at the ending stretch, people. The boys decide that they don't want to spend their Christmases separate with their families, but all together. So all of the families meet up at Kevin's house to have a happy Christmas together. We find out that Kevin and Nick invited Lucy to their house for Christmas under the guise that Joe had a big speech planned for her, and then they proceed to watch from the corner as Joe has to embarrassingly give this speech to Lucy. Nick says that it is like the end of Love Actually, only horrible, and I want to stop you right there, Nick Jonas and the writers of this movie, because I don't think anything could be worse than the Love Actually movie. Let me just say this right now. The hate I have for Love Actually. Actually, I abhor that movie. I would say that the Love Actually speech is much worse. But that is a commentary for another day. That is a video essay for another day. All this to say, Joe and Lucy get together, then we proceed to see our last music video moment featuring the song Time, which is a very cute and very catchy song. And most importantly, to wrap up Kevin's story arc in this movie, Kevin sings the bridge of this song. It is a very cute moment as the entire family is there, and when Kevin starts to sing, the camera pans over to all the family members looking at Kevin so proudly as he is finally stepping up to sing lead in a song. Also, this moment is especially sweet because I feel like it's mirroring real life, as more recently he has started singing his own song on tour, which I do believe he is releasing sometime soon, and there is a lot of excitement over it as the fans are excited to finally hear Kevin's voice. Then we end on Mitchell Pritchett's Santa creepily watching them through a window for some reason. And finally, we get the last title card of the movie 1 month later, and the boys have obviously decided to continue their tour because we see them at a concert playing their iconic bop Sucker, while, of course, Will Ferrell dances in the front row of the audience. And basically, that's the end of the movie. So, in conclusion, is this movie extremely silly, absurd, comical, and at sometimes even extremely dumb? Of course. Was it the so bad it's good movie that I thought it was going to be? Not really, because I think a lot of what was happening in this movie was a little bit self-referential, and also I feel like the movie knew what it was. It knew that it was absurd and silly and cheesy, and it played into that. The more cheesy stuff I don't really care for. I know cheesiness is a staple of Christmas movies, so that's why all that stuff is in there. Honestly, I enjoyed more of the camp of it all. My favorite scene was the the Home Alone musical scene. That is peak comedy. So there was some amazing highlights. There are several things about this movie that don't make sense. There are several things about this movie that are absurdly silly. Overall, I didn't hate this, and I give it 3 stars on my letterbox. And now if you're saying, Maria, why did you give this movie 3 stars? Well, I'll tell you, the Home Alone musical scene is worth 5 stars in and of itself. So do with that as you will. Also, follow me on Letterboxd for a good time. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're a Jonas Brothers fan, rank the soundtrack of this movie in the comments. Tell me what songs were your favorite and what songs are your least favorite. Also, give this video a like if you like this video. Click on my channel and check out some of my other stuff. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, subscribe to my channel so you can know when I put out more videos. But with all that being said, thanks once again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.